So I'm going to do another round of testing, or maybe even the first round of testing on this Burgundy console. See what my notes say. Oh, this is the one that had the foggy camera. I might try a little harder to clean it, but I may have to replace it. Because I don't think it's the little plastic lens. I think it's actually the camera unit itself. I think that's what I don't remember what I confirmed. But it's not like, I know the DSI cameras are bad, but it's not supposed to be that bad. So let me take it out from there and bend it back again and see if I can get that, if it is the actual lens. I was kind of flirting with the idea of actually replacing the little like camera itself on the ribbon cable while it's still kind of assembled in this console, but that just seems like a bad idea. But I do need to sort of come to a suitable conclusion. I was thinking of just ignoring it, but I don't think I can ignore that and try and sell it in good faith. Let me get this off. I don't really think this tape does anything, or my Kapton tape does anything. The copper tape, I'm pretty sure, is just supposed to be for grounding. But since I've already taken it off, it's not going to make a good connection, so there's no point in me trying to reattach it. I'll partially remove the Wi-Fi antenna. Well, I'll just go ahead and just get it out of the way. Just so I can sort of free flow this camera a little easier. No, I very much could resolder this without damaging my... I just don't know if the camera units would survive. Well, they should, because they were soldered on there to begin with. Alright, let's try this again. So yeah, it's got like that, almost like a lens flare to it. It's definitely not as bad, so I guess there is a problem with the little plastic lens in there. Well, I guess I kind of see a mark. I don't know if it's like a scratch. I mean, I'm actually okay with that. Let me see what's wrong with... If I can get this little tiny lens piece cleaned. I don't know if I can. Because if it is damaged, then there might not be anything I can do. Excuse me. I can pop them out. Oh god, I didn't mean to do that. Tweezers. I can pop out these little lenses. And I don't think they're necessarily supposed to, but... but they do come out. So yeah, I see the problem. There's a mark on it. I don't know if that will come off. Try and see if I can. But if not, I can definitely pull this little lens piece off a junk console. Yeah, it's still there. Okay, Try the other side. Okay, let's go see what my junk consoles or my junk shells look like. Here's one. Doesn't look that bad. Now, I'm not exactly sure why I failed this, or why I put... Oh, these aren't my junk. These are, like, just cosmetically rough. I need to grab another one. This one might be okay. These poor shells. Some of these consoles I've gotten were just in just awful shape. Like, I think, like, somehow somebody decided to, like, pry on the edges right here. Completely destroy that little bridge. Yeah, I don't know what the hell they were trying to accomplish with this, but... And I think this top shell piece is actually bent. Because somehow somebody, I'm wondering if it almost got like ran over by a car, but I have a console that has like an actual like bow to it. But that's why it's in my junk pile. There'll be good testing grounds for different, if I want to try any like physical mods. And I want to Dremel away some stuff, or if I need to make like test jigs, my junk shells are perfect for that. So I think this lens might be good. Just trying to look through it. Yeah. Shouldn't obstruct the sensor, so I'm just gonna pop it out. At this point, I don't really care if I touch it because I can just... Alright. So now let me sit it back in. I'll lock it back into place. Get this junker shell out of the way. I might just throw away this little lens, but I could probably put a Sharpie dot on it, just in case I need it for something. Like if I had a mad science project that I needed a junk lens for. Sort of the hoarder mentality, but whatever. Might be the last console I'll be able to work on, because I am running a little short on time. As I feel like I say that more often than I should. Okay, so now let's bring up the camera now. It's still got that, like, lens flare to it. Yeah, but it looks fine. Cool. I'm a lot more happy with that than I was it being just foggy beyond recognition. Oh, let me get this. Wi-Fi antenna back in. I usually don't install the Wi-Fi antenna like this, but this will work. I think it technically, it doesn't matter. It usually crimps in on the inside of this post, but it can go in the center. It doesn't hurt anything. this all nice and bundled up and go through the actual first round of testing. Which I don't think I ever did on this console, so... Yippee. It's got a few rounds of testing before I can get this thing on sale. I already put all the consoles that I had ready for sale on sale. 3 of them already sold rather quickly. I'm wondering if I should increase my prices. They're selling that quick. Tried adjusting for price change over the years. Or over the months I wasn't selling, but I guess that wasn't enough. I need to pad the right on. Okay. A bit foggy. So I'm just gonna add update notes, replaced lens. Mild yellowing on the screen, I'll be able to note. So yeah, I was probably starting test 1 before I found that the camera was foggy, and then I just cut it. I just stopped, if I remember correctly. So, with that in mind, I go through the actual testing. I'll grab a blank assessment form just so I have this information with me. So I'll be going through that column of tests right there. Motherboard, power board, tactile button, touchscreen, speaker, mic, headphone jack, camera, charge port, game card, and SD card slot, and as well as Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi, I usually save for the very last test, mainly because I need to test the Wi-Fi via my phone's hotspot, since my network is a little too new for a DSi to connect to. But I'm currently using my phone as a camera, so that's just going to have to wait. And yeah, I did notice some yellowing. I'm wondering if these Burgundy consoles, maybe it's just the color of Burgundy just makes that yellowing stick out a little more prominently than on other colored consoles. I definitely notice it on the Burgundy, and the white consoles tend to be the most yellowed. That could just be because the white consoles only... that's irrelevant, being because I put consoles in from... or put consoles together with screens from every console I have, because I put them all in a big pool. So I don't know. It might just be that the Burgundy and the white ones display yellowing a little more than the blue and the bronze ones, for instance. So there are 2 tests I'm going to perform before I get to the battery of tests, and they're 2 kind of oddball tests I need to just perform once. The first I sort of unceremoniously called the sleep disturbance test. What I'll do is put a magnet over the magnetically sensitive component right there, which will kick it into sleep. Usually this is triggered by the speaker, but I can't exactly monitor it while it's closed. So what I'm looking for is both screens blinking out, and the Wi-Fi light dimming, and the power light just sort of breathing in and out. I don't hear anything on the speakers. I don't think I had the thing turned on anyway, but there's really no reason for me to believe that this thing is not in sleep. I had a console come in where there was something wrong with that little component. I think it just needed to be resoldered, but it would sort of flicker erratically in and out of sleep, making popping sounds in the speakers. It was very strange. So I just want to make sure that this console isn't doing it. I remove the magnet, and it turns back on. Normal behavior. Next is an image retention test, which what I'll do is sit on the DSi sounds menu, or application, for, I don't know, maybe minute and a half, 2 minutes-ish. And what I'm going to do is, after that time elapses, is go over to the DSi settings menu. And what I'm looking for is if any of these assets, the background, these big buttons, if they transfer over to the settings menu. And it's a phenomenon I don't quite understand, because these are LCD displays, at least to the best of my knowledge, but either there's a component failing, or the screens are getting old, but they almost behave like an OLED burn-in type situation, where they'll retain this background checkerboard pattern even in the DSi sounds, the settings menu, which is not normal. because the DSI settings menu is supposed to just be essentially black screens. Oh, I'm running out of time quickly. Well, I'm gonna need to get to the game card slot test, which might take a little bit. I have a doctor's appointment at 11, which is in about 40 minutes. It only takes about 10 minutes to get down there, so I should be fine. I just might have to speed through a couple of the tests, because a lot of them are just like pass-fail. I don't usually have to test them more than once, which I should probably get to more. I should probably do that more often with some of these tests instead of just retesting them every single time. Like, the condition of the charge port isn't going to change. The cameras aren't going to change. But they're pretty relatively easy tests to perform. Because usually the ones I spend the most time on are the game card slot, and that's the one I really want to repeat. I'll repeat that as many times as needed. I don't know, it's been probably about a minute and a half-ish. I don't usually keep track, I probably should. So now, swap over the settings, and I'm looking for if I can see the checkerboard pattern in the back. Which I don't see anything, so it's just black screens all around. There is a bit of shading on the left side of these buttons. It's kind of like a little darker. They do line up with the silhouette of these buttons. So I am under the assumption that that's normal, because if it was the checkerboard pattern on the DSI settings sounds menu, you would see the big giant buttons for the record and the play. And then what I also have been doing is soft resetting to see if I can make out any of the DSI sounds menu. This doesn't exactly tell me much, it's just sort of something I've been trying to do, gathering information on to see if it sort of correlates with any other screen-related issues. I don't see anything, but even if I did, I don't think it really means anything. It's just more gathering information. So I did open up the settings menu, so I did assess the motherboard and power board. Let me note in this console's notes that I did the sleep and screen image retention. So, because this is one I only need to perform once. I'll just do screen and sleep. Pass on test 1. I'll hopefully know what I mean. So next on the test is tactile buttons, which I'll go into R4 card. I have a diagnosing software that will basically show me a screen with a bunch of little lights, every light corresponding to a button. So every time I press the button, the little light turns on. Very handy, instead of trying to do this in a game like Mario Kart or Pokemon. Which, though feasible, isn't quite as accurate as I would like. So then what I'll do is sort of press these buttons a bunch of times. Face buttons I'm not so worried about. They're usually almost always fine, save for any water damage. I never did open up the console to confirm that my motherboard matches my shell serial number, but that's something I can perform later. I think I do usually perform that on the final test. I'm usually pretty good at making sure I put the right console and motherboard together in my digital documents. So the shoulder buttons I pay special close attention to. Not only are the buttons physically bigger, so I sort of press between like the left side of the button and the right side of the button, but they're also usually the ones that display problems. And I'm not detecting anything with these buttons. They're detecting sort of slow inputs, fast inputs. Nothing missed that I can at least detect. I mainly try and press these buttons as normally as I can, but even when I'm trying to get them to disconnect, like trying to display a false input or no input, I'm not able to get that to happen. Next is the... I left my SD card in my other console. Next is the speakers, microphone, and headphone jack. I also combo this with an SD card slot test. Oh no, I skipped one. Touchscreen. I think this is an OEM touchscreen. It doesn't have the texture of an aftermarket. Oh. Force a habit. Just completely muscle memoried that one. So I use another application which turns the bottom screen into a touchpad. And then what I'll do is draw a perimeter. And I'm basically looking for any like giant dead zones. So if I were to draw a perimeter down at the bottom and there's just this weird jagged part in the corner and I can't get anything to respond in here, touchscreen's bad. But this one, good. I'll do sort of circular inputs to see if there's like any sort of like erratic input. Like if my stylus was to like shoot to the right side of the screen or something. But that all looks good. Now I'll do the sound systems. Going back into the DSI sound menu. Uh-oh. Don't know where that came from. It's probably part of the top screen. I'll have to put that back in. I'll do the speaker first. La 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 la. Good. I'll increase and decrease the volume. The software is responding and the buttons also work. So then I will check. It sees my SD card and it also sees the little song I have in there. So I'll grab my earbuds. And what I'll do is play the song, listen from both speakers, plug in my earbuds, listen to both channels to see if all of them are working. Yep, that's all working fine. Both channels working, both speakers working. I'll go ahead and remove the SD card so I don't forget it. Next is cameras, which I already kind of confirmed. It kind of... The front-facing one kind of lens flares a little, but when I'm doing not images of a light source, it looks fine. And charge port is next. So I have my little USB tester here up on the side. I'll go ahead and plug it in. Software responds. Little charger's going off, and it is pulling an amperage. When I was plugging it in, it felt a little loose, but we'll see. So then with it plugged in, what I'll do is sort of rotate the charger like this to see if I can get that orange light to turn off. And even though it is a little loose, It's not impacting the performance of the charge port, it would seem. I'm not able to get that light to turn off, try as I might. Just make sure it's not loose, but nah, it's nice and solid. Okay, so that's just gonna be, it's a little worn down, but it works perfectly fine. I have no reason to replace it. So now we're on to the game card slot. I might have to go a little quick, so hopefully I can, if it just needs a cleaning, I can get that done real quick and then zip on out of here. So I need to install that later. I'll do that off camera. So what I'll do is take a game card, slot it in normally. Game appears. Then what I'll do is put my fingers on it and shift it from side to side. There's a tiny bit of play in the game card slot, and it's not disappearing. And then what I'll do is put pressure on it, the game card, push it in until it hits the ejection point. And for fun, I just kind of go all the way until it actually bottoms out in the game card slot. All of this to try and get that game card to vanish or to disconnect just for a second, which in this case it's not. So I already went past the ejection point, so it comes out anyway. It's sort of a point of no return. It read it the entire way. And then what I'll do is smack the back of the console to see if I can get that game card to vanish, which it doesn't. All of that to sort of simulate what would happen if you were to put your console into sleep and throw it in your backpack and it sort of bangs around. Because if these game cards disconnect while you're playing, it will either freeze your console or just shut it off, which in the era of manual saves, that can be pretty annoying. Or if you're like in the middle of a mission, you had to pause and put your console into sleep to do something. Have your console shutting off on you is annoying because then you'd have to reset. I was thinking kind of specifically of like a Mario versus Donkey Kong mission where if I had to cut off, or if I had to sort of stop in the middle of a mission to do something, and then I come back to my console and it just shuts off, or it's already shut off or frozen because the game card like was bumped, or the console was bumped. And that would be, that kind of explains why I'm slapping the console on the side of, on my open palm, is to sort of simulate it being bumped. And what I'm doing on the game card, kind of pushing it all the way down to the ejection point, and even trying to test it beyond the ejection point is a little unrealistic, because if the game card's pushed past the ejection point, that's usually a point of no return unless you are aware that it pushed past the ejection point and you try holding it in while saving your game or something. But if you're unaware, like you put it in your pocket, it presses against something and it ejects your card, you wouldn't know. Or you wouldn't realize it until the game card's already popped out, so far, try as I might, it's reading all these cards perfectly. Which is what I want to see. And every time that game card's disappeared, it's because I've ejected it. So there's been no inputs, or there's been no cutoffs that I've noticed. Even with me trying as hard as I can. Within reason, of course. Because there was a motherboard I was just working on where the game card was sort of cutting out. So either the slot needed to be cleaned or the game card pins need to be lifted just a little bit. The game card pins on the motherboard are like knuckles. And I can imagine after hundreds of game cards sliding over them, they might just bend down a little. Or if you slide in a game card that's damaged, or maybe even an object that's not a game card, you can bend those pins down. So far, I'm very happy with the performance of this game card slot. Last but not least, cool. This console read all 18 game cards without a single problem. That I call is a pass to test 1. Since I didn't do any cleaning, I can technically do test 2. I can probably do it the next day. I usually let these consoles just kind of mellow out for a day, just to see if any problems arise. I'm mainly trying to keep my eye out for screen flickering. That's been a very irritating problem to try and track down because I can't make that problem appear consistently. It just appears randomly. Even on consoles I think are fine, it just sort of appears out of the blue one day. Could be a problem with the potentiometers. I'm not, or could be a sign of the dying screen. I can't really say. I'll have to put that in later, but I need the boogie, so that will be it for me.